What's up, everyone? We had a babylicious REITs week this week, with many of the REITs testing all-time high. What are we going to do with our REITs positioned now that we're sitting on good profits? Which are the breakout babies among our babylicious REITs? This is what we're going to talk about in this week's video. As usual, do give us a thumbs up, do subscribe to our channel, and tell our friends about this. Delve into two particular REITs. That's Capitaland Ascendas REIT and Mapletree PAC REIT, which are on the verge of a breakout. Something that we have told you about, forewarned you about a couple of months back, even as far back as last year. Now, take a look at the chart of Capitaland Ascendas. You can see that it is and has hit 288. So it's only 2 cents short of 290, which we reckon, if you look at that long-term trend, it's likely to break out from the 290 level, and my money is on that. My ladies and gentlemen, this is just a personal opinion. In this channel, we do not give stock recommendations. We do not give essentially investment advice. It is just a pure opinion of mine, and I actually guide you through with my own personal portfolio and see how basically it pans out. And our track record speaks for itself. So to delve into further fundamental analysis of capital ascenders, I just wanted to take you back to where we started on real estate investment trust. Now, the year before, we have already called a triple bottom on the REITs market. Now, you've been listening to our video, watching our videos conscientiously on a weekly basis. You notice that you have caught the bottom of the REIT market. Henceforth, they have surged, and Capitaland Ascendas basically have led the lead. Now, essentially, what makes Capitaland Ascendas so enticing? Something that we reckon is one of the best stocks to ride REITs rally, as we have shared in our GCP Global investment classes, which we conduct on a quarterly basis for the last 36 years, as well as in our YouTube channel like today. Now, essentially, we have reckoned that Capitaland Ascendas fits nicely in the fundamentally strong REITs that will benefit from this REITs rally. Now, understand that the 10-year bond yield has dropped below 4% this week. It is likely to drop further depending on the trade talks next week. And the CPI numbers that basically came out last night is indicative of a strong, firm, and finally sustainable rally in real estate investment trust. Again, my personal opinion, not investment recommendation. This REIT has been very consistent in its acquisition policy. Just look at its recent acquisition of Sync. It's 7.1% NPI yield, above its average yield trading at 5.9% at the time of acquisition. Second acquisition, the one on Shopee headquarters, same thing, 6.1% NPI yield, above its average dividend yield at that time. Now, very few REITs in the market actually were able to acquire at NPI yields above its distribution yield, which then do not dilute. In fact, it actually helped to enhance its NPI yield going ahead. That's one reason why we had loved Capitaland Ascendas REIT. Second reason is that if you look at its portfolio and its portfolio reversion rentals, they were all positive all across the various regions. That's basically across Singapore, Australia, the UK, and the US. We loved Captain Sanders because we reckon that essentially it's one of the REIT that has tentacles spread in all markets, which actually gives you the diversification that you want in logistics, warehouses, industrial assets. That's the kind of REIT you want to have in your portfolio. I put my money where my mouth is. So when I lecture to high net worth individuals, family offices, and hedge funds in our classes, I've told them I've positioned in Capitaland Ascendas. And I've done so since the triple bottom in the market the year before. Henceforth, as you can see in my late CDP statement, which I've showed again previously in my last video, I've mentioned that I've accumulated close to 1 million shares of Capitaland Ascendas REIT, which basically at 280 at that time, it's almost worth $3 million. And right now, based on Friday's closing at 287, I'm even nearer to it. So if you ask me what I'm going to do with the REIT, I will tell you that being a long-term investor, not a trader, I'm going to keep it. I'm going to see it break below, above the 288, 290 level. Anyway, as usual, do journey with me because in our videos, we'll show you exactly our real time positions as an investor, not a flip flop kind of trader, which is nothing wrong with it if you know how to make money from it. But if you do not, I recommend that you do come to our classes where we share with you the fundamentals of each REIT, when to position, how to position. Most of the time, we analyze where we make our losses, where we make our profits. So in Capitaland Ascendas REIT case, I like to tell my participants and investors that fortune favors the prepared. Fortune prepares and helps the ones that go through the analysis, and that's what we do in our classes. In Capital and Sanders, you notice that the long base formation at 250 to 260, which has been the case for a long time, was a key accumulation phase. So every time the share price dropped below 250 to 55, that's where I was buying. And the kicker came in when I actually took a big placement when the REIT did a placement at 247 early part of the year. So you can see, if even if we round up my costs at about 250, currently at 287, my profits are actually quite huge. Well, going further, we do not attribute it to luck, but to be very smart, calculative investments. And that's the kind of fundamental analysis, the rigorous sensitivity analysis that we go through in our various investment classes in choosing the real estate investment trust to put into your long-term portfolio. Mapletree PAC is a different kind of REIT than Capitaland Ascendas. We reckoned that its merger with Mapletree NAC just three and a half years ago was a huge mistake. It combined the operations that they have in China, in Japan, and in Hong Kong with its Singapore operations. As you can see from the chart, ladies and gentlemen, because of that, the Singapore assets within the whole portfolio is now only 64%. When previously, Mapletree Commercial Trust, its former name, had all Singapore assets, the bulk of which is actually the key star, that is Vivo City, which you and I have been through uh, there many a times, as well as Mapletree Business City. Take a look at why we reckon that Mapletree PAC has been and reckoned to be one of our portfolio loaders going ahead, which we told our investors a couple of months and just a year back. Now, that's because we reckoned that destiny is changing finally on this week. And true enough, ladies and gentlemen, in just last week's earnings, it showed for the first time a positive DPU growth at 2.01 cents, a positive reversion after so many quarters of negative returns on the DPU level. In my book, Making Millions in Real Estate Investment Trusts, which is the bestseller in both Asia as well as the US, you can see that one of the key important things that we have highlighted on the turnaround in REIT, or even to position well into REITs, is that you need to register positive DPU growth, and more importantly, on a sustainable basis going ahead. You should be indicating, and your assets should be actually giving you the kind of income streams that will show positive DPU return. And yes, number one, it has actually shown that. And coupled with that is the fact that it's positioned in combining with Mapletree NAC, which was a bad decision. The market has penalized it very badly. The share price in the course of COVID in 2020 has fallen by more than 50%, from as high as almost 250 down to as low as $1.25. And that's where the sharp, smart, and valued REIT investors, I'm sure many of them, including ours, has been accumulating, and that's what we've been doing in the past year. Once again, I always put my money where my mouth is. So, as you can see from the charts, we have been accumulating Mapletree PAC at 125 thereabouts, and I've accumulated up to 1.15 million. And you can see, based on its breakout, which I think it's qualified as a breakout baby in our analysis, is the fact that my position in Mapletree PAC, based on Friday's closing just yesterday at 147, puts it at around $1.6 million. I reckon that my value in Mapletree PAC is going to hit 2 million, and I certainly hope it will be soon. Once again, this is just a personal sharing, not a investment recommendation or whatsoever. But if you want to find out more ideas as to what is the next REIT, what is the next AI stock, what is the next crypto stock that will actually do well, do join us for our class on 15th of November 2025. Less than 1 month left, but the early bird special is still there for you to enjoy. So do sign up fast and enjoy, because in our classes, you notice, as what we have shown you in our presentation, we concentrate on the fundamentals. We make sure that we go through all the key fundamentals, the numbers with you. More importantly, we prepare you before the rally, not after. And thirdly, we make sure that we also put our personal money in it, so it's not empty things. When you have a personal stake, when you have a high personal stake in the stocks, you notice that you will rigorously go through your homework. You will go through essentially the key fundamentals, find well, which we share at loud in our class. And we love to have questions, because it is questions like this that help us to look at all angles. So for those of you who have been supporting us all these years, thank you so much for your kind support. Hopefully you can join us for our class on 15th November. Tell your friends about this. And for those who are listening in our YouTube videos week in, week out, I'm sure you have picked out our positions and indicative on Mapletree PAC as well as Capitaland Ascendas REIT earlier, and enjoy these REITs. As I've mentioned in this week's video, we reckon that these are good breakout babies. If you want to know which other REITs will be breakout babies, do join us again for our class on 15th November. Till next week then.